Man, let me tell you something. Every once in a while, there comes a moment in history when the world just stops. Not because somebody signed a paper. Not because somebody held a summit. Not because people gave fancy speeches at the United Nations. No, no, no. The world stops when a nation makes a move so bold, so unexpected, so unapologetically confident that the rest of the globe has to sit back, scratch their heads, and say, hold up, did that really just happen? And right now, that nation is India. Because India just pulled one move that shocked the United States of America, and it wasn't just about economics, politics, or military power. It was about respect, independence, and rewriting the script of global power. See, America's been used to being the shot caller for decades. Let's be real about it. They tell countries what to do, how to trade, who to side with, when to move, and when to stay still. And for a long time, the world played along. Some nations played the role of silent followers. Some tried to resist but couldn't stand the pressure. But then here comes India, this giant that everybody underestimated, standing tall with 1 billion plus people, a growing economy, and a spirit that refuses to bow down. India didn't just walk into the global arena. India walked in with swagger, confidence, and a move that said, we ain't here to take instructions anymore. We're here to run the show. And that's exactly what just shocked America. You know what really makes this move stand out? It wasn't made in anger. It wasn't made in secrecy. It wasn't made to beg for approval. India did it loud, clear, and with the kind of confidence that says, we know who we are, we know what we've got, and we know where we're going. That's the kind of energy that makes the powerful nervous. See, America ain't scared of weapons. They ain't scared of money. They ain't scared of armies marching. What makes them uneasy is when another country stands tall and says, we don't need you to validate us anymore. We're not playing by your script. That's what India just did. Now let's talk about how deep this move goes. Think about trade. For years, America's been used to nations begging for access, negotiating with desperation, bowing to pressure just to get deals done. But India turned the tables. India said, we got a market of 1.4 billion people. You want access, you come to us on our terms. That's power, that's leverage, and the U.S. knows it. Because you can't ignore a country that's not only the fastest growing major economy, but also the one with a youth population bigger than the entire population of most countries combined. That's future muscle. But it ain't just economics. Let's move to technology. For decades, America dominated that space. Silicon Valley was the dream, the place where the future was made. But right now, look at who's running the show in tech companies, in innovation, in research labs. Indians are not just present. They're leading. CEOs of some of the world's biggest American corporations, Indians. Space exploration. India sent a mission to the moon and Mars at a fraction of the cost America spent. Artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, software development. India isn't just participating. India is shaping the future. And then India makes that move, announcing partnerships, building alliances, and developing homegrown technology that says, we don't just follow, we innovate. That sends chills through Washington. Because once a nation proves it can build for itself, it no longer has to depend on the so-called world leaders. And let's not forget defense. Oh, this one really shook the table. America always believed that if a country wanted to build its military might, they had to go shopping in Washington. That was the playbook. But India flipped that playbook upside down. Instead of just buying, India started building. Tanks, fighter jets, drones, missiles, you name it. Not only did India make its own, but it started exporting to other countries. Imagine that. India selling weapons on the global stage and countries choosing Indian technology over American. That ain't just business. That's a statement. That's India saying, We are not your customer anymore. We're your competitor, and nothing shocks America more than losing its monopoly. But let me take it deeper, because the move wasn't just about industries or weapons or science. It was about mindset. India is no longer waiting for validation. India is no longer trying to impress. India is no longer begging for a seat at the table. India is building its own table, pulling up chairs and inviting the world to sit down. And if America wants a seat, they better bring respect, not instructions. That's the game changer. See, America's playbook worked for decades. They'd offer aid, impose sanctions, whisper threats, or dangle promises, and nations would cave in. But India just proved you can't scare a billion people who have seen colonization, who have fought poverty, who have faced wars, who have built from scratch, and who still keep rising. You can't scare a nation that turned its independence struggle into the world's largest democracy. You can't bully a country that survived global recessions and still came out stronger. America realized something: fear doesn't work on India. Pressure doesn't work on India. Only respect works on India. And that realization shook them. And what makes this even more shocking is timing. The world is not the same as it was 20 years ago. The balance of power is shifting. Old alliances are cracking. New leaders are rising. And in the middle of this, India didn't just quietly grow. It exploded onto the global stage. Whether it's Bryce expansion, whether it's leading the global south, whether it's creating policies that protect its people from foreign manipulation, India is showing the world that you can stand tall without being a puppet. That's the move that caught America off guard. They thought India would always play safe, always choose comfort over confrontation. But India didn't just step out of line, it rewrote the line. And let me tell you what really shakes the U.S. India is doing all of this while still being friendly, still being diplomatic, still being open for partnerships. That's dangerous to the old powers. Because if India was loud and hostile, they could dismiss it as a threat. But when India is calm, strategic, and still rising faster than anyone else, that's when America starts sweating. Because it's not chaos, it's confidence. It's not anger, it's assurance. That's scarier than any weapon. Let's talk about the cultural angle. Hollywood used to dominate the world's imagination. American lifestyle was seen as the dream. But India, Bollywood, music, food, yoga, fashion, it's everywhere. The Indian diaspora is one of the most influential in the world. From London to New York to Dubai to Sydney, Indians are shaping culture, business, and politics. And America just realized you can't ignore that soft power. That's not something you can sanction. That's not something you can buy. That's people power, and it's global. The move India made also sends a powerful message to other nations. It says, you don't have to bow. You don't have to settle. You don't have to compromise your identity to succeed. That's why this one move isn't just shocking America. It's inspiring the world. Countries in Africa, Asia, Latin America, they're watching India and saying, if India can do it, why can't we? That's a ripple effect America never wanted to see. Because once the monopoly on leadership breaks, once nations realize they don't have to play follow the leader anymore, the whole world order changes. And that's exactly what's happening right now. India isn't just a rising power. India is a redefining power. It's not stepping into America's shoes. It's creating its own path. And the move that shocked America is the move that made it clear India is no longer a question mark. India is an exclamation mark. Think about the symbolism. For decades, the world saw India as a country of potential someday, maybe in the future. But with this one move, India said, the future is now. We're not the country of tomorrow. We're the country of today. And America, used to being the one holding the spotlight, suddenly finds itself sharing the stage. That ain't easy for a nation that's been used to being the center of attention for so long. That's why the shock is so real. And here's what I want you to understand. This is just the beginning. Because what America is realizing and what the world is starting to see is that India's rise cannot be stopped. It cannot be slowed down. It cannot be ignored. It can only be acknowledged, respected, and partnered with. The move India made wasn't just a single step. It was the signal of a new era. An era where no single country controls the narrative, where no single power dictates the rules. An era where India walks tall, not behind anyone, but side by side as an equal. And if you think America is shocked now, wait until they see what's coming next. The biggest shock to America wasn't a missile launch. It wasn't a trade deal. It wasn't a speech at the United Nations. The biggest shock was India making a move that proved, without any doubt, that its leadership in the world is inevitable. Not optional, not someday, not maybe. Inevitable. That right there is what shook Washington to its core, because for decades the story was always written like this: America leads, the rest follow. America decides, the world adjusts. But suddenly the script got flipped and India is now holding the pen. See, when people talk about power, they usually look at weapons, money, but the real power is when you show the world that you don't need permission anymore. That's what India just did. For the longest time, folks painted India as the potential giant, the future leader, always the country that was going to shine one day. But India just walked in and said, that one day is today. And let me tell you something, nothing rattles America more than a country that doesn't ask for validation anymore. This wasn't about disrespect. India didn't slam doors or burn bridges. That's not India's style. No, India just calmly made its move with confidence, with calculation, and with timing so sharp that America didn't even see it coming. And when the dust settled, everybody realized India is no longer standing in the waiting room of global leadership. India has already entered the main hall. And whether America likes it or not, the seat India just took is permanent. Now let's talk about why this is such a shock. America has been used to running the show with what I call the Big Brother effect. They give instructions and countries fall in line. They say who should be friends and who should be enemies, and the world plays along. But when India made its move, it didn't ask America which way to turn. It didn't wait for approval or applause. It just did what was best for its people, and it worked. That right there is independence in action. That right there is leadership, because leaders don't wait for orders. Leaders make the path and the rest follow. Think about history. India was once under colonial rule, stripped of resources, divided, and underestimated. The world thought India would never rise again, that it would always stay behind, struggling to catch up. But every single decade, India proved them wrong. India came out of poverty, built industries, became the world's largest democracy, and turned itself into the fastest growing major economy. And now, with one bold move, India showed that the days of being underestimated are over. America is shocked because they never thought the underdog could become the alpha dog. And here's where it gets even deeper. Leadership isn't just about size or strength. It's about influence. It's about vision. It's about the ability to stand up when the whole world expects you to sit down. And that's what India did. It stood up in the middle of a world order, built to keep certain nations at the top and others at the bottom. India stood up and said, we're not playing that game anymore. That's what really shocked America. Because here's the truth. America can handle rivals like Russia or China. They've been competing with them for years. They know that playbook. But India is different. India is democratic, young, innovative, and diplomatic. India isn't hostile, but it's firm. India isn't reckless, but it's bold. That combination right there, that's dangerous to the old system because it's harder to fight someone who doesn't want to fight you, but still won't let you control them. Let me paint it this way. Imagine you're used to being the loudest voice in the room. You're used to people clapping when you speak, standing when you enter, and waiting for your opinion before they make decisions. Then one day someone else walks into that room. They don't shout. They don't argue. They don't even ask for attention. But when they speak, the room listens. When they act, the room follows. That's what India just became. That's why America is shocked. Because India didn't fight for the spotlight. It earned it naturally. And this move, it wasn't just symbolic. It was strategic. It told the world that India isn't a backup option. India isn't a supporting character. India is now one of the main players in the story of global power. America realized in that moment that it can no longer plan the future of the world without putting India at the center of the table. And if they try to ignore India, they'll only make themselves look outdated and irrelevant. Let's take economics as an example. America always believed it could use its market, its dollar, its sanctions as weapons to keep countries in line. But India flipped the script. India has a domestic market so massive, companies can't afford to skip it. India has trade deals with nations America can't control. India has a currency and digital economy growing so fast that even Wall Street is watching. And when India made its move, it proved something America didn't want to admit. India is too big to bully, too strong to ignore, and too smart to outmaneuver. Now let's talk military. America's power has always been tied to its weapons, its bases, its dominance in defense exports. But India didn't just keep buying, it started building. And not only building, but exporting. That's what caught the U.S. off guard. India proved that it can not only defend itself, but also supply others. And when you go from being a customer to a competitor, the whole game changes. America thought India would always be dependent. India showed that dependency is optional, but leadership is inevitable. And here's the part that really stings for America. India made this move without arrogance. India didn't beat its chest, didn't start wars, didn't threaten nations. India just stayed focused, disciplined, and determined. That humility mixed with strength is exactly what makes India's leadership unshakable. Because when you rise with aggression, people can dismiss you as dangerous. But when you rise with calm authority, people have no choice but to respect you. The biggest shock isn't that India rose. The biggest shock is that America can no longer control the pace of that rise. For decades, they thought they could pull strings, give aid here, apply sanctions there, influence policies, slow things down. But this move by India showed that those strings don't work anymore. India cut them. And once a nation proves it can't be manipulated, that's when you know its leadership is permanent. And don't forget the cultural side. America used to dominate global culture with Hollywood, fashion, and lifestyle. But look around today. Indian movies, Indian music, Indian festivals, Indian cuisine. It's everywhere. The diaspora is powerful, successful, and connected. And when India made its move, it wasn't just political or economic. It was cultural too. It reminded the U.S. that leadership isn't just about armies and banks. It's about who inspires the world. And right now, India is inspiring billions. So what does all of this add up to? It adds up to inevitability. America is shocked not because India did something impossible, but because India did something unstoppable. The writing is on the wall. India's leadership is not a question. It's not a maybe. It's not in the future. It's happening now. And once the world sees that, there's no going back. America may have been the leader for decades, but now it has to share the stage. And for a country used to being number one, that's the real shock. Because India's rise is not a challenge, It's a reality. And the move India just made was the proof. It told the whole world loud and clear that India's leadership is not optional, it's destiny.